Welcome back. And last week, President Donald Trump announced that the U.S. would be withdrawing from the Paris Agreement.
In order to fulfill my solemn duty to protect America and its citizens, the United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
Needless to say, that drew a lot of reaction from leaders around the world who harped on the implications of the decision. Surprisingly, though, that has not discouraged them from forging ahead with its implementation.
President Trump's action means the United States will walk away from one of the pressing global issues of the 21st century. The pullout will align the United States with Syria and Nicaragua as the world's only non-participant in the accord.
Thank you.
President Trump had refused to endorse the landmark climate change accord at the G7 summit last Saturday, saying it needed more time to decide. He then tweeted that he would make an announcement last week. The accord, agreed on by nearly 200 countries in Paris in 2015, aims to limit planetary warming, in part by slashing carbon dioxide and other emissions from the burning of fossil fuels. Under the pact, the United States committed to reducing its emission by 26 to 28% from 2005 levels by 2025. The decision to withdraw from the climate accord was influenced by a letter from 22 Republican U.S. senators, including Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, calling for an exit. Supporters of the deal are concerned that a U.S. exit could lead other nations to weaken their commitment or also withdraw, softening an accord that scientists have said is critical to avoiding the worst impact of climate change. While President Trump says the United States will renegotiate the deal, the European Commission says it would not be easy to pull out of the Paris deal. The Commission's president, Jean-Claude Juncker, said the Americans can't just leave the climate protection agreement, as it will take 3 to 4 years after the agreement came into force in November 2016 to leave the agreement. Germany and China vowed to expand their partnership, pledging to continue to fight climate change. The UN says the decision to pull the US from the deal is draconian and represents a reassertion of American sovereignty. But UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says he remains confident that cities, states and businesses within the United States, along with other countries, will continue to demonstrate vision and leadership by working for low-carbon, resilient economic growth that will create quality jobs and markets for 21st century prosperity. Canadian authorities said they were deeply disappointed in the U.S. decision.
Canada is deeply disappointed with the U.S. position. The Paris Agreement is a good deal for Canada, and it's a good deal for the world. It will create good jobs. The clean growth economy is where the world is going, and Canada is going to be part of it. It is also important that we remember that this is about leaving a more sustainable future for our kids. I'm very pleased to announce today that Canada will co-host with China and the European Union a ministerial summit here in Canada in September to advance action on the Paris Agreement.
Japan's Environment Minister, disappointed by President Trump's announcement, said Japan wanted to cooperate with the United States based on the Paris Climate Accord, and that it was disappointed the U.S. government decided to withdraw. German Chancellor Angela Merkel pledged the country's continued commitment to the Paris Climate Agreement. She called for Europe to work close together and that Trump's decision would not stop them, but make them more resolved. UK Prime Minister Theresa May said the UK was still committed to the Paris Agreement.
The UK's position on the Paris Agreement remains as it always has been. We believe this is an important international agreement on climate change. The UK is one of the leading nations across the world in dealing with climate change. I made clear to President Trump, as did other G7 leaders last week, that we believed that the importance of the Paris Agreement, and we wanted the United States to remain within it. I spoke to President Trump again last night. I made it clear that the UK would have wanted the United States to stay within the Paris Agreement and that we continue to support the Paris Agreement.
Even Russian President Vladimir Putin said he would not judge President Trump's decision, but that they could have stayed in the agreement. He said he thought there was still time to reach an agreement on the climate deal despite Washington's withdrawal.
And these are other discussions in diplomatic circles. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has offered his condolences to victims of the attack in London, promising to stand with Britain in defeating those behind it.
In recent hours, another terrible attack was launched on innocent people in the heart of London. We condemn it. We send our condolences to the British people, and we pledge our commitment to fight this scourge that knows no bounds. These terrorists worship death. They murder indiscriminately, but they will not frighten us. They will not terrorize us. They will only harden our resolve to defeat them. And together here in Africa, in the Middle East, and Europe, everywhere, together we will defeat them faster. But our goal here is not merely to join forces to fight the bad, but to work together to advance the good. And in this spirit, I come here as an expression of a simple truth. Israel is coming back to Africa, and Africa is coming back to Israel. I believe in Africa.
He was addressing the Economic Community of West African States gathering in Liberia as a guest speaker. He also held meetings with several African leaders on the sidelines of the conference.
Today we seek to share our experience with the governments and peoples of Africa. ECOWAS's mission is to increase peace and prosperity by harnessing Africa's vast resources. I came to Africa last year, to East Africa. I saw these resources firsthand. I saw diversity and richness. I saw passion and productivity. I saw young African entrepreneurs who are building companies harnessing the power of the digital age. Africans are seizing the future. Israel wants to seize this future with you. You truly have no better partner for this mission than Israel.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has lashed out at US President Donald Trump and leaders in Saudi Arabia for their new regional alliance against Tehran, saying it would bear no fruit.
We are trying.
During his visit a couple of weeks ago, President Trump had singled out Iran as a key source of funding and support for militant groups.
They buy tremendous amounts of our military equipment.
He said the US president stands alongside the leaders of a tribal and backward system and does the sword dance, but criticizes an Iranian election with 40 million votes. President Vladimir Putin of Russia says he hardly spoke at all to former US National Security Advisor Michael Flynn when both sat at dinner in Moscow in 2015. Speaking to NBC News' Sunday Night with Megyn Kelly, the president said he recalls the dinner in question as a routine event, saying, "I made my speech, then we talked about some other stuff, and I got up and left. And then afterwards I was told, there was an American gentleman who was involved in some things. He used to be in the security services." Flynn's ties to Moscow are under scrutiny in the US amid allegations of possible Russian interference in the 2016 election.
Vastly diminished.
That brings us to the end of the program. Thanks again for watching. I welcome your comments. See if you'd be so kind to send them to @diplomaticchan or @Amarachi_Ubani. I'll see you next time.